Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on April 28, 2023 at approximately 4:22 p.m. PST. Now, I returned to this world for one primary reason. Copy. And that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally live with and I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the ones that I personally live by. So this is not a question of here's some ideas that may work for you. These are ideas that I personally am using, and many other people that I've talked to over the years are using as well, to varying degrees of success. And we have right through the door, we have Adam with the gold. Adam, hopefully things are going well for you. You know, it's been an interesting day. So I figured I'd take a look at it and go, okay, how do you possibly know when it is time to let the past go and start moving forward? You know, and essentially start fresh. You've probably done this before. Like as in you've probably done this whole idea of starting over in the past. Okay, and you sit there going, well, I've done that before and it's never worked. What's going to make it different this time? In a nutshell, you are. Okay. Angels, you are in with the silver. How you doing? You really do spend a lot of time on the road, you know that there, Adam. You know, you may well be wondering, well, what is going to make things different this time? Well, I'll tell you, what makes it different is you. Yes, I'm going to stand up for a minute, but that's okay. I'm allowed. Now, the fact of the matter is, when you start deciding what you're going to work with, and pull that feed. Oh, you know what? I can't use that one. Okay. Those files are all false. We can't do that. Boy, that one's going to take some interesting getting used to. This particular book, like I said, you've probably started multiple times in the past. And now you're going, well, why is this one going to be any different? Well, the whole reason it's going to be different is because this is a different world for you. Now it is time to really take a look and decide how you desire your life to change. Are you content with the way it is? Steph, how are you? Glad you could join us. Hopefully your day's been going well. Now, yes, I'm doing things a little bit backwards here, but that's because of the fact, what is this? I think that all belongs to my kids. Probably does, in all fairness. Nope, not all of it, but a fair chunk of it. So I've got folders here that I've really got to take a look at. And why would I do this while I'm on the air? Well, like I said, I do not sit still and watch very well. You know, overall, we have a very simple problem. This world has really taken a difficult turn, to say the least. How about if we tilt that back and see if that helps? I sat back down again so I can actually see what I'm up to. Anyway, how do you know where to start? Well, you literally start wherever you're standing or wherever you're sitting. You've done this before. This is almost a certainty. So why start over? Well, here's the reason. You've got a lot of stuff you drug around with you. Okay, you've got a lot of stuff. You've had a life. You've got all sorts of things stocked up. Now it's time to start making the things that you desire to have take priority. not so much the things that other people desire. See, now, this is another one of these little projects that I have done, that I've got tied together. And the thing is, you take a look at the amount of stuff you've got, and you figure out, okay, where am I going? Well, isn't that neat? That can be filed because I got to get that done anyway. Projects. See, the easiest way to figure out where to start is take a look where you're sitting. Are you content where it is? Joe, how you doing? I think I missed somebody here. Adam's got the gold. Angel's got the silver. Steph, you came in with the bronze. And this means that the Shadow has come in with honorable mention here. I did miss you coming in here. On the plus side, if everything goes according to plan, I should have my new computer system in by tomorrow evening. Yeah. See, I grew up on the coast there, Joe. So, of course, when it rains, I just look at it going, this is just normal weather. I never did acclimatize to the interior here. You know, but I do understand how that works for most people. What do I got here? A couple of projects I've been working on, and ones I really... Oh, look at that. That's going to be an interesting file to go through. Anyway, take a look. Let's try and stay focused, shall we? What do you think? Take a look where you are. Ask yourself, are you content where you are? Have you got the life you desire to have? Or for that matter, the life you thought you may have by the time you got to whatever age you are. Now, I will tell you this. You may not have created the lifestyle that you desired at that point, but now is the time to really reclaim power over that and go, I'm going to start making it for me. Okay, so what I've done is I've been emptying extra boxes today, and that's worked out rather well. Now, if I put that over here, I don't have to... Oh, I got to keep that open, though. See, one of the things I've looked at is until you figure out what you're up to or where you desire your life to go, you're going to run into all sorts of neat little complications. And I don't know about you, but me personally, I'm not overly interested in the number of complications I keep getting. That's what I got to do with that. See, one of the neat things here is this. The trick to knowing when to change your life is literally to realize when you are. Like literally when you are. Right now is the best time to make any change. So I've got my office desk all completely cleared off. Okay, aside from the stuff I'm working on, as in other words, in this case, my calendar is right handy beside me. Gonna lose a pen, but that's okay. Figure out, are you content? If the answer is yes, then you're probably already doing something else. That's it. Try to get a drink when you close the bin and close the bin on it. Because that's always going to work. So we take a look at it and you go, okay, got to get the desk clear. Now, no, you actually can't see because I've got it tilted up. Mind you, better you look at my ceiling than my bed right now because it's pretty packed up at this point. But let me ask you this. Do any of you have a project that you're working on that you would like to make headway on? Okay. See, the reason I ask is this. far too many of us, what we'll do is we'll sit there and we'll go, I don't desire to live my life the way it is. And then you turn around and go, but I don't know how to change it. What is that? Oh, okay. And this is Mr. Dreamcatcher, which we might just as well start putting those where they belong. And this is, I'll have to go through this anyway. Heritage goes there. See, if I can get these boxes empty, then what ends up happening is I get a whole pile of mess out of the way. That's the Awakening. So that one. Advertising, auto, art. See, as you can tell, I've just, in a matter of minutes, cleared off a whole pile of things I was working on. Now, what is this? Okay. That's another short story that I got to deal with. But the way I look at it is this. Pick a direction, and as you can tell, I'm a little scattered at this point. But the reason for that is because of the number of things I've been dealing with. And here's a neat little bonus. I had a conversation with my artist regarding Races of the Worlds. He's got the final adjustments in hand for the last 5 pictures. Once I get those back, there's a couple of name changes I have to send him, and I'm working on those this afternoon. So we're getting very close to the release of it. Okay, we get that. Added another 10 pages to the Return to Paradise. Again, it boils down to deciding this is what I'm putting the effort into. This is where my focus is. If you're aiming at getting your life to change, you can talk to all the people you desire. Doesn't matter who you talk to. Okay, except one little detail. Be sure if you're looking how to do something, talk to somebody that has successfully done it. Okay, now I came across a really neat change this morning when I was doing my writing. I found out the other book and the other series I'm in the middle of writing, I'd already introduced some of the characters, quite by accident, or at least unbeknownst to me. But that's the way my life goes. Now, let's get down to business, shall we? First and foremost, take a look at where your finances are. Are you content with where they're standing? Do you have the funds to be able to actually afford to live? Do you have the money in your possession, either in your possession, or do you know where it's coming from and how to work with it? Okay. If the answer is yes, then you're well on your way to success. If the answer is no, then honestly, you're pretty much hooped. Okay, and that's why I'm doing this. Because you take a look now, and I'm going to do it this way. We'll start with the home front. Take a look at your finances. Now, I will tell you, first and foremost, if you don't know how to track finances, a budget isn't going to do you any good anyway. You know, governments talk about setting a budget and keeping a balanced budget, so do corporations. And yet 99% of them don't. You know, they say you've got to do this to be successful, which really comes across a little backwards to my way of thinking, when many of these corporations are very successful and yet don't have a balanced budget at all, which kind of says Do you have to have a balanced budget? No, you don't. But you do have to know where you're spending and what your expenditures are. And that's where this comes in. Okay. Now, let me just grab this funny little file here. I believe this is the newest book I'm working on. Well, one of. This is that funny one, Believe in Your Finances. And again, a budget is not a requirement. And here's why. If you've got a definitive amount of money coming in, if you've got a paycheck that is the same every time, you can absolutely set the budget, set your budget up. Like I've got I can take individual contracts that are coming in for me, and I can go, okay, I've got a $500 contract. Out of that $500, X dollars goes to this person, X dollars goes to that person, X dollars goes to savings. You get the picture. Okay. But I will tell you, your priority, understand, your home front and your business are the same thing. Okay. They both operate the same way. You still have to pay your rent, your power, the rest of your utilities. You've got to have insurance. You've got to have food, etc. Okay. But you've got to do it whether you're running a business or you're running a household. Dogface, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The nice, I hope your day's been going well. You take a look at it and you've got two bills. It doesn't matter if we're talking your home life or we're talking your business. You've got to get your rent or your lease or your mortgage, whatever it is. That's got to be paid. That's got to be kept up to date. Okay. You have to keep the power on, because I will tell you, I've had people talk to me and they'll go, I'm behind in my utilities and I'm going to lose my cable and my power's going to be cut off, but I got to get my cable paid because I don't want to be without cable. And I sit there and I look at him and go, chap, understand, you lose your power, it won't matter if your cable's paid. Okay, you lose your power, that TV is going to be useless. You lose the power, your internet is pretty much hooped. Okay. And it's funny, I heard a tale today that apparently the government is at it again, talking about when they're going to shut down power lines, power systems and banks. Dogface, there used to be a set of commercials that literally said a similar statement of that. It used to go, this one set of commercials used to go, you got the power. And you do. What you may not realize is that you have the power or how much power you actually have. Now, one of the big things that I look at is this. If you know what you're aiming at, you can get it on paper, at least in point form, you'll be fine. Okay. So, like I put in, and I am in the middle of putting this paper, but like I've mentioned, you've got your living expenses have to be covered first. Okay. And the reason for that is if you don't take care of you, you're going to be relying on other people to help you as well, which is just going to compound the problem. So when I talk about your living expenses, I'm talking about your rent, your utilities, as in power, phone, cable, internet, water, whatever, and one credit card. I'm not saying only have one. As a matter of fact, I'll get to that in a bit. Okay. But you take one credit card and you call that a utility bill. That one gets paid as much as your utility bills go. Okay. Because in today's world, a credit card is almost built in. Okay. but they are very useful if you use them properly. If you don't use them properly, and I will get to them in a little bit, regarding how credit cards can be used effectively. Now, I've done the same thing you've done, okay, that many of you have done. Took my credit card, racked it all the way up, ended up with problems behind the 8 ball, the whole 9 yards. And much like you, patience is not necessarily my strong suit. But you get your living expenses taken care of. Those are the first things to deal with. Then you take care of your loans, liens, anything that is accruing interest that is costing you money to have. Okay. And we target those going after the smallest bill first. Smallest, monetarily speaking, bill first. Now, once you've got them, then you can start targeting the other bills that aren't charging interest. Okay. And by the way, and this is going to sound bad, so I'll apologize ahead of time for that. Joe. I'm just reading what Joe just wrote here. Speaking of hobbies, I mentioned on last show writing, carving pieces of wood in the... Oh, yeah. I actually was thinking about that. But thank you for the reminder, Joe. First things first. Okay. When you're looking at learning to carve, okay, if you don't know how, this does not mean you can't do it. Okay. There was this chunk of wood. Okay. And I'm going to be doing this summer. I'm just waiting for it to get a little warmer so the magnifying lens will work. But this little piece, as you can see, it was just a top piece of tree that I found outside a couple of years ago. It's been sitting drying. Okay. Now this particular one, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write across them in the middle of this, and you'll see this over the next few months. I'm going to block it out and just write welcome across here. I'm thinking welcome anyway. I may decide to do a different word, but ultimately that's what it boils down to. Now here's a question for you guys. This will sit on a doorstep, or in my case on the balcony. But now I can either set it this way so it sits flat, or I can set it this way. Right. I'm thinking now, we'll call that number 1. Okay. Number 1 position. Call this number 2. Which one in your guys' eyes do you figure is the best face to work with? Come to think of it, I might just work with both so I can flip it over. But what do we got here? Eternity, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You get a piece of dry wood. Okay, if you're looking at carving, make sure you get... Now, if the wood is not dry, let it sit for a while. Okay, this one has been drying for the last 2 or 3 years, I think. Okay, I just haven't been doing anything with it, but I figure it's time to get started. Now, I've got a number of possibilities here, and I just got to check which one works best. Because I'm looking at one of the other options here is peace. Just something to let people know that, look, it's time for us to relax, because I'm going to put this outside. Okay, it will be undercover, but what you do is you get yourself a piece of dry wood to start with. So I got that one. These all came up at the same time, by the way. This funny little one here is going to be turned into a bowl, I do believe. Okay, that's going to take some time because I'm just using primitive tools and not really good primitive tools. So what you do is you start with something really, really simple. Okay. But this one I think I'm going to turn into just simply a little, it could be a bird feeder for somebody. I don't know. Haven't quite figured that part out yet. But here's what I mean by simple. Is this fine little piece here. Figured I am not an artist by any functional stretch. But when I got it, it was just like this. And then I ended up starting to work on it. And we are going to, as you can see, get a face out of the deal eventually. Okay, but it's one of those things that you work at. Now, the real thing about it, when you're talking about carving, okay, you make sure that the tools you're using, even if they are simple ones, where are we? Well, at least you got the feed cat in the right order, and in all fairness, Dogface, there is nothing wrong with having a silly mood now and then. You know, there really isn't. I wonder if I've actually got what I picked up some whittling tools. Just trying to think if I know exactly where they are because I didn't think to bring them in. But I have small little wood chisels I picked up. I wonder if I've got one sitting there. Give me a second. Okay, I was right. This is what I get for slowly getting organized. The answer to your question there is this. Okay, I've got these are just for little fine work. But understand, okay, it's not a race. So all I've got is little, I don't know if you can tell, but that's got a little bit of a scoop to it. Yeah, I can't tell. Okay, that's got a little bit of a scoop to it. This one is just a straight edge for cutting. And of course, you use a small hammer if you need to. And another one. And then, of course, for the bigger pieces, get a bigger chisel. The thing is, this is not about racing. This is not about doing this in a hurry. Now, you know, if you didn't make such a mess, I'd probably do something while I was sitting online here. But let me take you back a bit. 50,000 years ago, mankind could simply think about what they desired. Okay, they desired to have a brand new paint job in their house, and they just go, it's now colored. But at that point, we got very bored and turned back to simple art, as in stacking stones, carving, you know, getting trees to grow in different shapes, as in taking the time to do it. But we didn't have, it wasn't any jealousy. If somebody wanted and desired to know how to do something, they'd sit down with somebody that already knew how, and the person would go, here's how you do it. Now, the problem with my trying to do in carving is, well, frankly, I like walking around in bare feet without the slivers. So, I mean, these are just some of the simple tools I use. Let's see, iVoice. How many different species watch Spaced Out Radio and keep an eye? That I can't even begin to tell you, but I can tell you this. I do know the consortium watches, and in the consortium, considering they broadcast it to the rest, there are at least 2,500 member species involved. Yeah, Joe, a sharp folding hunting knife will also work for carving wood. Absolutely it will. The only thing I caution you, if you've got a sharp hunting knife, you already know this part. Be absolutely certain. Okay, let me grab that little one here. There's a very important little factor about this. Now, I am by no means, in case you couldn't tell by the face, by no means am I a professional wood carver. Okay, but you can't see that unless I tilt that. Okay, when you're taking the wood, first rule of thumb: never do it on your lap if you can avoid it. But you always make certain the hand that you're bracing it with, keep it behind the blade. So if you're aiming to carve, you're carving away from you. That way, if you slip, the blade goes off the end, not into your hand. Okay, that's just the reality behind it. When you take a look at it, I don't have, I don't have a small hunting knife, and the one I've got doesn't fold. But this will give you an idea, Joe. Where is it? I am looking for a funny little toy of mine, and it's not in here. My big knife. I'm not going to go wandering off to find it. But no, a good sharp carving knife, a good sharp coal chisel, will work absolutely beautifully. Okay, one of the reasons I use ones this size is because I'm not in a hurry. Well, that's very true, Dogface. I know there was a cook I knew that made a major mistake. Okay, she wasn't holding the knife right. Right, she was holding on to something, and picture this being a carpet knife. She caught herself here, all the way to here. Okay, now I'll tell you, it was a mess. I could see the score in the bone. I didn't even know they were a band. But no, when you're looking at artwork, I love the way Michelangelo put it. Okay, when he was asked how he carved such incredible such incredible statues, he goes, I don't do anything special. The statue is already there. I just knocked away all the rough parts. And that's what I'm going to be working on here. And again, it boils down to maybe not having a life. I don't know. But the nice part about it is you take a sharp hunting knife will work very well. The one thing that these have an advantage over. Henry, how are we doing? Glad you could join us. The one thing that these have an advantage over a knife is they are designed literally, in this case, that's just got a small edge on it. Now you can get wider ones like this one. Okay. But again, you'll notice with this particular one, and this is the way I work with it, I am not a professional woodworker. Okay. But I find if you hold it there, because you'll notice this thing has a little bit of a divot. So you put your thumb and your middle finger there, and it enables you to have your index finger on top, thereby gaining more control. But again, you always take the item, and I cannot stress this enough. When you're going to carve, okay, now set this on something solid. Do not set it the way mine is right now, and this is why you'll notice I haven't even made a chip in this. Because I'll tell you, if I'm trying to carve something, and I've got it sitting on my lap and it goes off the end with a lot of pressure, I'm going to punch a hole in my leg. And no, I'm not going to show you that. But take a look at what it is. Get the more strongly you can picture that image coming out. Okay, and that's why I'm looking at this now, going, how do I desire this to work? Okay, now it's already got a built-in face, but I'm not doing this one in the way of a face yet. Okay, the neat part about it is this is just for simple work to start with. Things will get better as you get more. Well, technically, you know, Dogface, I've seen some remarkable work with a chainsaw, or for that matter, with a wood axe. Okay, I've seen people do phenomenal things. I used to go to the lumber, to the logging days when I was on the island. Okay, and they had phenomenal carving and what have you going on. Okay, but you gotta remember, whatever you're working on, okay, always start simple. Okay, but get the picture clear, because when it comes to carving, once you've removed a piece, you can't put it back. So you gotta have it clear in your head what you're looking for. Same thing applies to when you're changing the way your world is working. Okay, now I can take this and turn it into what I desire. I'm going to do the same thing with my house. Okay, not carve it, but I'm going to change it into what I desire it to look like. But I will tell you, if you're not careful, and this applies to whether we're talking carving or we're talking changing your finances, you've got to get a handle on what you're actually doing. You know, what your expectations are. Okay. For instance, if you desired, like Dogface has brought up the idea of carving with a chainsaw, this is fantastic once you know how to carve. Oops. Yeah, whatever you do, Dogface, don't start playing with chainsaws or knives if you've been playing with alcohol. You know, I used to think about the idea of, like, my father used to enter competitions when he was younger, throwing hand axes. But he'd throw one in either hand and put them both into the bullseye. Okay. But everything you're going about changing is one step at a time. Okay. It's just literally that simple and that complicated at the same time. Now, what do we got here? So we're just going to make a couple of notes while I'm thinking of it. Where's my board? Because when I got done the show tonight, I've got a couple of things I have to do. Okay, not the least of which is more writing, but the small booklet that I'm in the middle of writing, I've got the first chapter written. Chapter 2 I'll be writing tonight, and that literally explains which bills you're looking to put together. Okay, so step 1, you're going to be listing all bills, and this applies to whether we're talking your home life or your business. Okay, either one, it still applies. So you put a list of your bills together. Okay, and that means everything: utilities, your utilities, your rent, your insurance, your food costs, all of it. Okay, and then once you've done that, and don't forget to put the little bills that you owe other people, and for that matter, the bills that other people owe you. Because I will tell you one thing I have found out with people: if you don't stay on top of it, they're not going to pay attention to it either. Not on the whole. So we take the list, and what you do is you list all bills. Then we turn around and we separate all bills into 3 categories into your living expenses. And again, this boils down to when to change. Well, we're changing your finances right now. Okay, literally right now. As I'm writing this list down, I suggest you do. Okay, step 1, list all of your bills, living expenses, credit cards, leases, loan payments, insurance, things you owe your friends. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about the order yet. We're just talking about essentially brainstorming. Derek's going, I used to shape olive crosses out of sandpaper when I was in, well, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that name. That looks like Medugorje in Bosnia. Okay, so not going to try and sort that one out. You know, much as I agree with you, Dogface, I have come to understand sometimes circumstances create a problem. But absolutely, you keep the bill listed that you're on top of it. Because let's face it, if you're asking for help and you're not stepping forth, thank you. I appreciate that, Derek. I prefer pronouncing things correctly, and most of the time, I like to think I can at least come close. Get all your bills listed, then you break them into 3 categories: living expenses, your interest accruing, okay, now interest accruing debt, and then your other debt. Now, these are 3 categories. Your living expenses are things like your rent, your utilities, including 1 credit card, all of your insurance, transportation costs, food costs, and some for entertainment and savings. Okay, you put all of those are in your living expenses. Question: are you excited about your son moving in, and how old is he? Well, number 1, excited? No. And don't get me wrong, I'm also not disappointed. I left the door open for him when he moved out. I told him flat out, you ever desire to come home, there will always be a place for you. I may not always have a bed, but I will have a place. Okay. Because it depended on where I was. As it turns out, I'm still in the same house I was in. So, am I content that he's coming back? Certainly. Okay. Now, that being said, he's 25, but he's quitting a full-time job to go back to university full-time. And as he put it, he can't do both effectively. Now, once you've got the bills listed and you've got them broken into 3 categories. Now, I don't know if you multitask. I know this is just normal for me. Okay. Once you've got them split up, then you turn around. You turn around, go each one of those categories, you list them not in alphabetical order. Okay. In monetary order. Looking at the total you owe these people. Okay. You list them off at the most expensive to the least expensive. Now, where it comes to utilities and what have you, sorry guys, we're estimating. Okay, the odds are you don't have a definitive amount of money of bill coming in. So we list them off most to least. Now, the reason you do that is because we're going to take a look. Sure, make me hungry there, Derek. I gotta go make supper after I get done this. In all fairness, there, Dogface. When I moved out originally, I was 18 when I was asked to move out to take care of, to keep an eye on my older brother. I was told by my parents that the door would always be open. I told them when I left, I said, look, no offense, but I won't be back. Okay, I won't be moving home. I'm the only one in the family that never did. Okay, but I don't hold that against anybody. That was my choice. Okay, with my son, he's got a good head on his shoulders. And in today's world, understand, in the area I live in, we are paying for a 1-bedroom house without taking the utilities. 1-bedroom apartment, sorry. But that is just for the rent. Is $1,200 to $1,400 a month in many cases. And then you've got your utilities on top of it. Okay. Now, in today's world, that's insane. And people trying to live on that are just going to have a major problem. Okay. In my case, I've got a 3-bedroom apartment and I'm paying just over $1,000 for it. So bringing him home is not a big hassle on that end. Okay. Well, that would be a problem. And this is just one of those things that you have to look at. Dogface is just going, I don't like pants and other people expect me to wear them. Yeah, I was talking to somebody one day. They were really upset. They got arrested. And they got arrested outside their own house. And, her response to the cops was, well, I was told if I really want to relax, walk around the house naked. Nobody told me I had to be inside the house. And apparently the cops were not overly happy about it. Quite often the answer is yes, but that has more to do with the type of dog that they tend to manifest as. Okay. And what I mean by that is many of them will show up as Mastiffs or as Rottweilers because they are an intimidating visage. Not like the glowing red eyes wouldn't be a giveaway that there was a problem. But from a muscle standpoint, that kind of musculature does kind of bear a solid image. But yeah, and there's a couple of other animals that'll manifest the same way. Now, and yeah, I know I'm jumping back and forth between the questions that are here and this idea of doing our best to get people on the right track. Yeah, it really doesn't. I mean, we've had our problems. Well, actually, my eldest son and I actually haven't. Hopefully, it'll stay that way. But no, the reality is, when we decided we were having children, both his mother and I, even though we're divorced, we still both care one way or the other how the munchkin's going. And the unfortunate part is that's very much the case, Derek. Society has said, and this is why I look at quite seriously, and somebody's going to get upset about this. I hear people a lot of the time going, oh, the East Indians, they have all these people living in their house at one time, and they're all, they're buying up property. But you got to look at what they're doing. Okay. And I am going to encourage my 2 boys to actually do this. Okay. No, Adam, in all fairness, I haven't. I'm not about to. I'm Scottish by heritage, but I never did take to the kilts. And no, I've never played bagpipes either, but that's probably a blessing. But the East Indians, what they do is they keep 2 and 3 generations at home. Okay, where everybody pitches in to pay off the mortgage. Okay. And when that is paid off, then they all pitch in, buy another house, and move half the family out. That is a way that works like an absolute charm. And you got to realize a close-knit family is more strength if you guys are getting along. But let's clarify one thing. Close-knit does not necessarily mean bloodline. Okay. It means the people you're choosing to call family. Quite often, unfortunately, there are many times when bloodline doesn't see eye to eye. Now, once you've got the list of bills done and sorted into the 3 groups, then you sort them out monetarily speaking. Again, we are not talking about which one is the oldest debt or which one's the newest. We're talking strictly which one do you owe the most money to. That's the one you target. Okay. And so you take care of your living expenses first. Then you turn around and you pay the ones that are actually charging interest. Keep them mobile. When you get the smallest one paid off, you can take that extra money and put it on the next one in line. So I'm just marking this down. This is just crib notes, if you will, for the next chapter I've got to write on this book, Believe in Your Finances and Follow Your Dreams. That one I'm working on rather diligently because, well, frankly, there's a lot of people out there that really require it. Okay. That way we can get you out of debt first. And I will tell you this. Most of the time people go, oh, I've got to get savings aside to actually make money. But here's the problem. Most of your savings accounts or your investment portfolios are making 6 to 8%. If you've got an average credit card, it's costing you 20 to 30%. Get the bill paid off before you worry about the investment, because I will tell you, in my opinion and in my experience, it doesn't work well the other way around. See, I look at that going, when I look at something like that, Dogface, like Dogface is gone. I lived in a house after an Indian, all love, but man, the cupboard was funky. It stayed closed. Here's the thing. Okay. Whether it was an Indian, and this is just my 2 cents, which, many people will not like anyway, but you lived in a house after somebody else. The fact that they were Indian or that they were so-called First Nations is, in my opinion, irrelevant. The state they left the house in is the important factor. Oh, well, yeah. Because with the curry they use, it sinks into the walls. Now, the best I can tell you there is, as far as I understand it, the hospital uses something called nil odor to knock any scent out. And if nil odor will wipe out the smell of burned human flesh, then we can safely say it'll take out the smell of curry. Yeah. There are all sorts of ways of and let me ask you this, though, Dogface. Okay. And this is very much the case. They quite often will cut you a deal. Okay. The question I ask myself only is that $1,000. Did I accrue that? Did I honestly accrue that? And thereby, is it actually my debt? Okay. If the answer is yes, I accrued $1,000. Okay. Like I spent $1,000. Then I find it difficult, and this is just me. I find it difficult to look at it and go, I'm going to ignore it until they cut the bill in half. The bill itself, from my standpoint, has always been, this is what you ordered and what you bought. This is what you owe. Not the extra interest they keep tagging on to it. That's where the problem comes in. You know, to be clear, Dogface, I did something really remarkable years ago. Really stupid, but really remarkable. I took a $1,000 credit card limit and racked up $2,000 on that bill, and then went bankrupt. Las Vegas, how you doing? Glad you could join us. So we've got, and again, I could go back through this, but I do encourage you, much as we've gone around in circles here and jumped all over the place, I do encourage you to listen to the video again to make sure you get the things in order. Once you've got your bills listed, then we can target getting rid of them. Okay. That's where it comes to your household. You do the same thing with the business. But here's where people run into an interesting snag. And if you own a business, I'm going to put it to you this way. If you own a business and you're doing reasonably well, and you're thinking it's time to open another outlet or another branch, okay, maybe another restaurant, I'll tell you, this is what I found worked like an absolute charm. And do understand, I had a client years ago that literally, I gave this method to him, and he went from a struggling entrepreneur to the owner of 7 restaurants, 2 of which were in strip malls that he and his brother owned. Okay, and here's the key to it. Number 1, when you're looking at expanding, take a look at your net profit. Now, if you run a business, you know what net profit is. If you don't, your net profit is you take everything that come in, take care of all of your operating expenses, and now what's left is your net profit. So if you're looking at opening another branch, okay, or another restaurant, you take a look at your net profit. Make certain that what is coming in is enough profit to run the operating expenses of the new restaurant before you even open the doors. Okay, because when you do that, you are not actually digging yourself into a hole. This idea of I've got to open right now because the iron's hot, I got to strike now, this is bad business practice. And I cannot tell you the number of people that have done that and dug themselves right into a hole. Okay. I'm just making a note because this is another aspect here. Like I said, I definitely encourage you, if you don't already have one out, absolutely grab a sheet of paper and make notes for yourself. Okay, I will end up going over this again in time anyway. Yes. See, your gross profit, when you look at gross profit there in Dogface, and I am no financial whiz. Okay, this is obvious by the fact that I'm up to my eyeballs. And I'm still fighting with the government. But gross profit is what comes in overall before you pay your little living expenses. And if you start spending your gross profit, if you start calculating your expenditure on gross profit, you're going to be in trouble. Don't take my word. Well, I would suggest you take my word for it, because learning that one the hard way is not an enjoyable maneuver. One of the things that I did find is when you desire to do something, okay, plan it first. When it comes to carpentry work, my dad always said, you measure twice, you cut once. Because it will tell you, once you cut, it doesn't matter what you measured. If you measured it wrong, you're hooked. Okay. So when we're looking at now I've got that there. Those are the notes I need to have in that file. And before I lose track of where the file is, we're going to put it back. Again, remember, when you're working on multiple projects, make absolutely certain that you put them where they belong. Believe. I do believe in and believe that I do feel that believing your finances has to come right after family. Now, again, this is just a question of crib notes for a number of different projects at the same time. Yeah. I mean, the nice part about it is if you go back to the old ways, and this is why I say see, Derek goes, and I said, do I need something? I said, this is my house. I can go wherever I please. I cannot believe the worker asked me, do I need something in my own home? Yeah, it's amazing. I was asked that the other day when I was actually talking about buying this new computer. In spite of not having a stable income or virtually any income. And like I told him, this was on this stream. I don't know if you guys remember it, but like I told them, do I need it? No, not right this second, but when I do require it, I don't want to be in the same mess I was in the other day. A few months back, my whole computer system collapsed, and I nearly lost 40 years of writing. Okay, so needless to say, I learned a rather harsh lesson there. But the thing is, very little in life is absolutely required. There's a lot that we would like. Dogface. Yeah, Dogface just said, what did you say? Yeah, bud, fix us a sandwich. The funny thing there is when I look at the way my life is going, I'm going, I can leave it sit the way it is. I really could. Okay. It's depressing, it's frustrating, the whole 9 yards. Or I can go, okay, how do we turn this information around and get people working at it? Okay, Derek. Any one of the books that I've got in print, like right now, I got shafted in a lot of ways, but where is what I'm looking for here? This one here. Copy that. This is the email address to order anything through. It's also the one I use for PayPal. Okay. Now I can't get my stuff properly on Amazon right now because of what was done to me by somebody that by a company I trusted. Yeah, the funny thing there, Dogface, I've always held, when you're in somebody else's land, somebody else's house, you follow their laws. That's simple. But the laws in the house have to follow the laws of the community. But that email address, okay, that comes directly to me. And some of it does cost. If you go to this is a website that will give you, actually, I think at the bottom of the videos it's there too. And I will have to double check that in a second. This video, or not this video, but this website will also give you a list of the different books that I've written and a synopsis on them. But if I go up here, yeah, if you look right below this video, you'll see a list of prices. Okay, a list of prices of the different books I've written. And what I've done is once payment goes through, I give myself 3 business days to actually get the book on the go. Okay, to get it up and running and to get it on its way to you. Now, that being said, that's novels, self-help books, reference manuals, and children's books. Oh, okay. I will do that for you. Where are we here? I just got to get down to where I can write. Okay, when we are talking the novels, which is the big one and the big issue, did that right? Yeah. The Yldrbac Chronicles, that is the name of the novel series I'm working on. The first one that is out is this, is The Birth of the Wolf Pack. And to think, 2 months ago, I could not have done this. The typing just wasn't going to happen. Yeah, they are science fiction, science fantasy, your call. That's the first one there, The Birth of the Wolf Pack. Then we have The End of an Epic. The unfortunate part here is the books themselves are literally only $40 a piece. Problem is the shipping is an additional $25 to get them to you. Okay, and I just can't afford to ship them for free, and I do not have the connections yet. What do we get here? Thank you so much, there, Dogface. They're not going anywhere. Actually, what I usually do is I end up cutting it up to the jawline and then leave this just continue. Those are the 2 novels that are out. Then we've got the children's book. Those 2 stand on their own. Okay. This one, as it turned out, is actually connected to it. Races of the Worlds. Okay. That one gives you that is a reference manual that literally gives you statistical information on the various races, many of which you'll actually run into in the Chronicles. Then we have the self-help, right? That's Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. Okay. And we also have Believe in Your Business and Follow Your Dreams. 3-4 months ago, I could not type with both hands. But that's finally coming back on track. So that's 5. And then these 2 are children's books. And Mr. Dreamcatcher Returns. That's the 7. They are already in print. I'm working on quite a number of others, but those ones are already in print. And again, the email address above is the easiest one to get a hold of. If you look at the videos below at the box below this video, and every other video for that matter, it'll give you a breakdown of not only the cost, including shipping, as well as a bit of information regarding what the books are. So when we look at when to change things, I had to literally start looking at going, okay, I'm going to get this piece of work done. And that reminds me of something I needed to double check. over here. As I said, my brain does all sorts of weird things. See, the other science fiction, science fantasy series I'm in the middle of writing, I've started doing by hand and then transferring it. And that's this one here, which is, I think it's only got 3 pages. No, I think I've got 8 or 10 pages on it. I don't rightly know. But I got to work on that today as well. Whoa. Nope, that was written absolutely wrong. Here I am saying I can type, and apparently I cannot. There we go. No, I'm actually pretty boring at a bachelor party. You know, and the reality of it is, Derek, my son keeps telling me I don't have a sense of humor. And most of what people seem to think is good to happen at bachelor parties didn't work well for me. However, I'm likely to have one at some point, considering I'm planning on getting married again. And no, that's going to be a bit down the road yet. But with that in mind, and again, this boils down to figuring out when is the best time to change the way your life is going. Well, I'll tell you, postponing it is not going to do you any good. It's just not going to make as much headway as you would think. You know, I've tried the thing of meshing with people and have found pretty much unilaterally that I've got a very different way of looking at the world. One day I may make it down there. Where are we? Yeah, see, the whole thing, I'm not worried about the paperwork side of it. To me, it's not about the paperwork. Never has been. You know, from my standpoint, it is simply the way that I grew up. It's got nothing to do with, you know, lots of people, you know, my brother never, I don't, yeah, he did get married. But the reality of it, from my standpoint, whether people get married or not, the reality is the marriage paperwork does absolutely nothing for commitment levels. Okay. You know, the reality of it is that the paperwork is not anything of any functional value, except because of the way society is, it makes it easier to get certain things done. From my end, I don't care. Okay, and as far as other people go, you're living together. If you're treating each other right, that is the important factor. Derek, I'll tell you this. In my personal opinion, if you're signing a prenup, you've already decided the marriage is over. Okay, at that point, if you're being, in my opinion, if I'm asking somebody else to sign a prenup or they're asking me to, I'll walk away from the marriage because you're already going, it's going to fall apart. And I'm not interested in it falling apart. So I just don't go down that road. Did my last marriage fall apart? Certainly. I also walked out of it in pretty decent shape. But again, that's personal opinion. What I find with most of the time, a prenup really boils down to I don't trust you to actually follow me, you know, to actually work with me to make things work. And I've seen a lot of really wealthy families put a prenup together. You know, And like I said, it really boils down to it's a personal choice. If people want it, that's fine. Knock yourself out. Okay, there's nothing wrong per se. Hate to tell you this, Derek. Just to throw that on the other foot, I find with the people I've dealt with the business people I've dealt with and the personal ones, the women I've dealt with have been much more on the up and up and much more on the honest side than any of the men I've been than almost any of the men I've been dealing with. But again, personal, it's personal and personal experience is what will shape people's minds. Okay. Yeah, well, that's just it, Derek. With my other half, I told her flat out, and of course, this is a two-way street. Because I refuse to lie to somebody to make them feel better. But I told her, I said, you ever lie to me, it's likely going to kill the marriage. You may not do it right away, but it's likely going to kill the marriage because the trust will go. And for me, that's going to be a problem. I says, the reality is you ever cross the border and you ever cheat on me, okay, then we won't have a problem. There will be no reconciliation. There will be no marriage counseling. There won't be anything. It'll be gone. And I'll kill it that quick. But I figured I might as well put my thoughts on the table to start with and just be done with it. Because she knows exactly where I'm standing. But unfortunately there, Derek, most people in today's world have been taught that honesty, integrity are secondary and optional. Okay. And that is creating massive problems across the board. You take honesty, integrity, and greed, you throw two out and grab the other one and just shake the daylights out of it, and you've got modern society. This is why I tell people when I'm looking at the books that I'm selling, okay, this is the cost of them because, you take a look at this, okay. Because I'm dealing with a small book company, a small printing company, this book cost me $20 to produce it. Okay. This one cost me $20 per book to print. Okay. Which is why when I charge 40, it's so I can make enough money to actually order new ones. The reason I don't absorb the shipping costs, well, let's see. I sell it for 40. I have it built for 20. Okay. Sell it for 40. So meaning I'm making $20 profit. Shipping is 25. Can't figure out why I charge 20 and why I charge the shipping on top. Okay. But I believe approaching things from a dead honest point, and very few people are willing to actually deal with that. So, this is the thing. But when it comes to a relationship, and here's the thing. Whoa. Oh, thank you so much there, Derek. Here, I'll just do that a little easier for you. Show you something about it. If you take a look at the front, okay, the front, that's book one. Technically, it's book 10, but this is the first one out. This is the birth of the wolf pack. The second one is the end of an epoch, and it picks up literally. What I did was I took with the birth of the wolf pack, I took the last half chapter or chapter of the birth of the wolf pack, and it became the prologue for the end of an epoch. Okay. What do we got? The Dark Elf Dritz. Oh, buddy of mine is a very fond believer in that, and he read that whole series. Okay. I haven't actually read them, but I'm terrible at reading things. But what I did with this, okay, is on the back. If we take a look at it on the back, you'll notice there's only part of a border here. That's because when you take the second book, when you take the second book and you put it side by side, you'll see we actually have a complete picture. The third one will fit over here. Okay, I'm in the middle of doing it. All 12 books put together, when laid out in proper order, okay, produce a complete picture on the back. Same as when you take a look at the binding. There is a complete picture that grows on that as well. But I've got flashbacks and foreshadowings all throughout it. Okay. Now, yeah, the stories about Dritz are, apparently they're really engrossing. Apparently they are really engrossing. Like I said, I personally have not read them. Of course, I'm sitting here, I've got a copy, I've got a lot of the Game of Thrones sitting beside me, and I haven't read all of it either. But then I'm terrible at sitting down to read. Now, I'm hoping, my goal is that I can turn these into a going concern, right? But marketing has never been my strong suit. I don't know where I put it. My phone is what I'm looking for, actually. And that is a problem. So I hate to do this. I will be right back, but better find said phone. Told you, married to the phone. Well, give me outside, guys. Be right back, guys. Yeah. Don't you just love complications? That'd be my son trying to get a hold of me. And unfortunately, not exactly having as much luck as I'd like. So hopefully he will get back. So, where were we here? Oh, well, that doesn't work. Where are we here? Whoop. Got a little sidetracked there. I do appreciate. I really appreciate that, there, Derek. It's amazing. I am very reclusive in a lot of ways, but I have found the people in this chat room are a phenomenal bunch. I got a kick out of it one day a few weeks ago. I think it was a few weeks ago. Somebody came in here, and I have no idea who the person was, but they came through the door, and they literally said, "Talk about a bunch of a bunch of trolls in here." Right. And just about everybody in the room reacted before I got a chance to, which is a good thing. If you're wondering why I'm a little distracted at this point, it's because of the fact my son tried getting a hold of me and I didn't get a hold of him. I didn't get an answer. So hopefully he'll get back. I mean, he's 18, so he should be fine. But no, when you're looking at the way I've done the books, okay, and this is where I've taken most of my energy, is to put these together, but they fall under the category of science fiction, science fantasy, because this one. Now, let me ask you this, guys: how many chapters, when you're getting into a novel, how many chapters do you give said novel to get your attention? Any novel, doesn't matter which. The reason I ask is because I find if you don't get the book off to a running start, you run into a problem. Right. So what I did with these books, okay, with these ones, what I did was I went, okay, I'm going to write a novel. Well, more to the point, I'm going to write a series. But the original, okay, yeah, with the, just to put that, and thank you there, Derek. The first chapter, bear in mind, this is post-apocalyptic. Okay, first chapter of this book, there is the hint of a fight. Okay, in the second chapter, there is a very detailed the choreographed combat that goes on. 10-1 odds, 7 dead, 2 wounded, 1 serious, 1 gets away. Okay, that's against the pacifist in the wolf pack, the guy that doesn't want to fight. The story goes through, and at the end of the story, I deliberately left it with a cliffhanger, just so you're aware. Okay, but this one, the last half of the last chapter, or possibly the last chapter, is the prologue for the end of an epic. Okay, and it starts off quite literally with a bang. Okay, so, and that's just the way that I decided I was going to write these. Now, that's where it comes to the novels. Where it comes to the self-help, I keep them as simple as I can, because the way I figure it, you only have to write so much, and then if it's short enough, you can reread it to get the idea. So I turned around and made the self-help books as literally, here's the tool, here's what it'll do for you, and here is one of the primary reasons why you don't want to do it in the first place. Because I rationed, I theorized that if I can derail the primary reason for not doing something, you might be able to see to go forward with it. And again, this is not a question of me being the best there is. I mean, heck, I'm barely functional at being me. Okay. And so I did that. I'm doing that with the self-help. With the reference, it's literally, here's the data, here's the information, basically set up like an encyclopedia. Okay. But the races in Races of the Worlds are the same ones. Like, here's gives you an idea, because we've talked about it over the years. If you've been following Spaced Out Radio, this will make sense. Okay. This here is a normal human. Okay. This is a Sazazian. Okay, which gives you an idea of the actual size of the people. Okay, and just take a look at the size of his mace compared to the size of this person's chest plate. Okay, we are not talking about small people. But the way I looked at it was this. When you're ready to change, take a look at whatever you're doing and really make a go of it. Okay, really push that issue. And that concerns me. I'm going to hit this call and see if I can actually get him on the phone. Yes, for me, family comes far more importantly than anything else. But apparently I'm not going to get an answer.
You have reached the voicemail box.
So I will have to see. What do we got here? Gee, with the way things go up here, are you referring to Canadians in general, or are we talking the hockey team? Oh, I've been living life on the edge for years. I was diagnosed dead at 5 and carried on. Didn't agree with the diagnosis, so I left. But no, when I've got those, that's the way I write. I do not, where it comes to reading books, very few. Okay, because that's just from my end, that's just the reality of it. And this I don't need there because it's just going to annoy me. But no, the reality of it from my standpoint is this. When you desire your life to change, okay, the best time in the world to make that change happen is right now. Oh, okay, what do we got here? Oh, that is true. It's been years since I've watched. Well, actually, we started watching wrestling again, but yeah, that was his famous quote. I've got a great nephew, but he's only 2 years old, so it'll be a few years before I get a great nephew. Yeah, my brother's eldest has a child on hand. But in all fairness, I haven't spoken to the nephew in probably 10 years. Raven, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The reality is, Joe, I don't actually have as solid a connection with my own family as some might like. From my end, I get along really well with them because they're out of the city right now. Well, Redhead, see, I was one of the lucky ones there, Dogface. I was one of the few. I think I was the only one in my family that the first redhead I met, okay, what had an absolute golden personality, right? Even tempered the whole 9 yards. Everyone after her is another issue. Okay. But when I met her in grade 4 or grade 5. One of the two. But absolutely beautiful personality. Right. Sadly, most redheads I end up having, I've found many of them have serious temper problems. Now, I'm one to talk. I was born with black hair. Started going gray when I was 16, but I had a temper from hell. The neat little part of it is, the reality of it is this. When you're dealing with people, you treat them the way you desire to be treated. Okay. I'm the first one to tell people, pranking me is a bad idea. Of course, I will not prank somebody else. I've never seen a functional use for them. But what I'm looking at this point, okay, I've got so many different projects I'm on the go for. And, I looked at and went, how am I going to change things? How am I going to change things and really capitalize on this? I made a miscalculation in a sense. When I was thinking way back when I was 50, okay, so we're talking a decade ago, I looked at Colonel Sanders. Colonel Sanders was 65 when he opened his first chicken stand. Okay. And, he did it his way. He had a goal in mind. This is what he was doing. He never wavered. Here he is now. Well, he's passed away now, but his name became synonymous with quality chicken. Unfortunately, after he died, they screwed things up, in my opinion. But I always looked at it and went, he got started at 65. I'm still 5 years ahead of that. But I'm really tired of the fight for it, so I am working to make this happen. Okay. Ideally, what will happen is I will find a way, and in all likelihood, it'll be word of mouth. Because I figured out how I can actually track word of mouth advertising and pay for it. Which, frankly, I figure is only fair. You pay for advertising everywhere else. Why not pay the people that are actually spreading the word? But no, the end of an epoch and the return to paradise are out, or in the wolf pack and the end of an epoch are out. The return to paradise I'm working on. Okay, I am way behind where I desired to be, but I have gotten back into the path. Now, when it comes to upgrading stuff that you've got, well, Greek weddings are a lot of fun. I get a kick out of it because people look at the wedding and go, here's a different wedding style. The Greeks have a really raucous time. But when you look at weddings, people are really turned towards the Greek side of it. Funerals, on the other hand, I like the Irish wake. I figure with my ability to see what's coming, I figure about a week before I die, I'll have a wake myself. My estate's got to foot the bill for the dang thing anyway. I figure my estate is going to end up paying for the funeral anyway. So why not be there to enjoy it? Just to give everybody a heart attack, just get wheeled in a coffin, get up and play. Yeah, I don't think that they're going to let you do that. I agreed with you. Well, the thing is, Dogface, when I got talking about it with my ex-wife, well, with my wife at the time, we got talking about funerals, and I said, look, I don't care. Just decapitate me this time and make sure the job's done right. Then do with the body what you want. And she goes, well, it's got to be buried. I says, okay, so take out in the bush, dig a hole, and drop it. Mother Nature will deal with it. To me, it doesn't make any difference. When I'm dead, I don't actually have a use for the body. So I figured, what the heck? You can use it, you can cremate it, you can do scientific experiments on it. I don't care. Doesn't matter. I'm not in it anymore. It's much like when I sell a car. I don't care what they do with the car after it's out of my hands. Yeah, I don't mind. For me, I don't mind the worms eating me. I figure, let them, as long as they wait till I'm dead. I'm just not interested in being eaten by carnivorous worms. Thank you very much. But I look at it this way. Dying is easy. Lord knows it's easy. I've done it often enough. Living is the challenge. And when I mean living, I mean find a way to enjoy your life. Still trying to get a hold of my son because it concerns me that he's not answering. Okay, now why, pray tell, is that the case? My phone's not going out, which is definitely a problem. Okay, that definitely concerns me. I can't phone out, which really causes an interesting problem. I can't figure out why it's not letting me phone out is the point. But no, I don't need that. Yeah, it does create an interesting problem. Well, now we have a ring.
Hello.
Hello. Be right back, guys. Where are you?
I'm literally in the living room.
Oh, okay. Okay, I will go back. Okay, I'm going to fix my screen. No problem, I will. Okay, that mystery is solved. Sorry about that. Actually, I'm really not sorry about it. I've been pretty clear with people that my kid comes before everything. I mean, heck, it was funny when I was driving my son and my eldest son to work one day, and he looks at me and he goes, he looks at me and he says, "Dad, you're not looking well." He says, "Are you okay?" I says, "No, I'm in the middle of a heart attack." He goes, "Dad, shouldn't we be going to the hospital?" I says, "No, I'll drop you off at work. I'll go home and sleep it off." I kid you not. I turned around, drove home, and went and slept it off. this is not a good way to do things. Well, that's just it. And the sad reality there, Adam, is most companies are so caught up in the dollar value, they lose sight of the people value. And this is why even my editor, she turns around and she goes, "No, if you can't afford it, we'll figure something out." And I'm like, I can't afford not to do it. But I've got an editor that is absolutely picky. Like, she looks for spaces in between scene changes. Like if there's a blank bar, if there's a blank spot and I've got a couple of spaces in there, she'll catch them. That's just it, Derek. I run I own my own company. The problem is that I never, and this is a real drawback on my part, I never saw money as a critical value. Okay, I never put any weight behind money itself. It's never been my driving force, but it should have been, at least to a degree. But when you're looking at anything, like I'm sticking, this is why where it comes to anything I do, I don't have a different price for if I'm doing a consultation, if I'm doing a report, or if I'm giving somebody a hand with something. I don't change the value of what I'm doing. I look at it in man hours and leave it at that. Well, those two go really hand in hand there, Derek. I gave up the idea of investing in anything. Right, literally everything I've invested in has every in every investment option, like mutual funds, stocks, whatever, without exception, I've lost money on them. The only thing I've learned that if I put the effort into it, if I put my own focus on it, I can get things to happen the way I desire them to, but I'm still having to figure out how to market properly. Well, investing is only big money if you've got big money. To be frank, the reality is when I said I was writing a book, Believe in Your Finances, it is targeting the people that don't have the money to work with. It targets the people that are what are classified as the working poor. Okay. In other words, if you've got $5, I can show you how it can work. If you've got $15, I can show you how it can work. You got $100,000. Oddly enough, I can still show you, though I've only had that much money once in my life. I've literally shown millionaires how to make their money work properly. I'm not talking about picking which stock to buy. I'm talking about how to handle the finances. You want to invest, that's your department to figure that one out. Okay. But I will tell you, because the big thing where it comes to money is money doesn't care what you feel like. It does not care what your emotions are or how healthy you are. It doesn't care at all. So you can be depressed all you want. Ultimately, yeah, a lot of the real estate change is, quite frankly, a fabricated setup. But the problem is the cost of houses is going up so high that the people that are coming up don't have a way to actually invest in them, making it a rich man's game. I am personally much more interested in targeting the smaller people. I will tell you this. I had a real estate agent years ago that was a client. She was trying to sell $300,000 and $400,000 homes and was only selling once every 2 or 3 months. So I laid out a plan for her to target the lower end, to target the people that are selling houses for 150 to 200,000. She was selling within 2 months. She was selling a house a week. Okay, because it was a different way of looking at the way the real estate market was done. Had a client that was a restaurateur. Had one restaurant, was trying to open a second, but was having a lot of trouble. I laid out a plan for him. And next thing I know, 13 years later, he's got 7 restaurants, 2 of which are in strip malls that he personally owns. That somehow doesn't surprise me. Henry's just saying that Bill Gates is now the largest landowner in the U.S. Now, the thing I've always looked at with landowners is, and this is just a personal beef of mine, when you own a apartment block, for instance, and you hire a manager, way too many apartment block owners that I've run into they still charge their landlord, the landlord that they've got working for them, rent, usually a reduced rent, but they still charge them rent. Now, to my way of thinking, if you've got an apartment building and you've got somebody looking after it, give them the apartment for free. Get them to do their job, but I mean, let's face it, they are working 24/7. But again, it boils back down to that thing called greed. Now where to put that in perspective, these books and every one of the books, and it's something I figured out a long time ago. Okay, but I keep tabs on who I do my best. I haven't in the past, but what I'm doing, this whole overhaul I'm doing with the computer, is to be able to make absolutely certain I know who's got what. Okay, simply in order to keep on top of things. Yeah, and the funny thing is, people look at that, and I will tell you, when I look at somebody that's got that kind of that many properties, when you've got that kind of an income, maybe I'm just bass backwards. I don't know. Okay. From my standpoint, I look at it going, I only require X amount of money to live. Okay. So why not help other people around you? Now, I have no idea what his methods are. Okay. But I will tell you this, and this is why I've told people, I will not put money into a registered charity. It's just not going to happen. Okay. Because so much of that money goes to the overhead, thereby making the owner of the charity wealthy, but it doesn't get to the people that actually require it. Okay, so when I'm looking at the issue of how do you know how and when to expand, well, the how is the easy part. You take a look at whatever's going on in your life and you start altering the people. Okay, you start altering the energy pattern in order to get everything that is hindering your growth out of the way. Now, here's the thing. I mentioned I will be starting a charity, but here's the big difference between what I'm going to be doing, and I will be getting a lawyer involved to make sure I get it done right. Okay. When I talk about my starting a charity, I do not mean I'm going to go, donate to this charity. Okay. That's not the way it's going to go. It's going to be X percentage of my income from Inner Voice Enterprises will go to charity. But that charity will be going in, buying somebody a meal, buying somebody groceries, maybe buying somebody something a little more expensive that they legitimately require. Of course, I'm fussy that way. I'm the one that determines if it's legitimate. Okay, but 100% of the administration cost will be absorbed by my company. It will not be handled by a tax deduction or labeled as a nonprofit organization. I'll be danged if I'm going to run an organization that's nonprofit. Okay, I just don't work that way. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a firm believer I don't have to make $1 million off of one person. Okay. But, I will eventually. In all fairness, Dogface, I've already got to that point. Okay. And today, and this is a really weird thing to do, but that's okay. I'm doing it anyway. And the fact I'm going to tell you about it is exactly why it's going to work. Okay. I'm going out today. I'm going to be getting my son's bus pass. But I decided there is no reason to wait any longer. Okay, there really isn't any reason to wait any longer. Therefore, there's one restaurant that I go to. Okay, there's one restaurant that I go to on a regular basis. It's the only restaurant in the city I go to. But when I get out of here today, I'm going to stop in there. I'm going to pick a table that is not drinking out. I won't pay for people's alcohol. Just won't happen. Both my sons right now live in Kelowna. The one I was worried about, is one living with me right now. The other one will be moving back into my place at the end of this month. You know, like I talk about, I know I look at the world differently, but the way I figure it, if we help each other, and quite often it's the working poor that get overlooked. Okay. She is like, we still get along. She lives on her own, right? She lives on her own. We still get along, and I still give her a hand financially where I can. But she's working full time as a care aide in a retirement center. And I mean, she still works like a dog. Her and I did not split because of the traditional finance or infidelity, which is why we are still friends. Okay. Because we still both worry about our kids. And we still do what we can, but like I end up taking my youngest over there virtually every week. Look at the bright side. The Bowie knife is in the other room. Not to worry, if I was going to do something, I wouldn't be on air to do it. Way too much likelihood of somebody actually calling for help. But no, fortunately, no matter how depressed I've ever gotten, I have never reached the point of being suicidal. Although I did just about commit suicide and do something that would have resulted in my death. But that was a curiosity thing. That it is, Derek. And yes, unless I end up dead before then, I'll be there. It's hard to imagine that we are actually into our I think we're entering our 9th year now. I think we're entering our 9th year with Dave. And it has been one heck of a run. Absolutely there. I will absolutely do my best there, Derek. I have trouble getting into the chat room sometimes, so knowing who is in there and who isn't becomes a bit of a problem. I will see what I can do as far as finding that side of it, though. But I look at the world this way. We have to start working together to make this and to turn this world back to a decent run. It's just the way it's got to go. Now, with that in mind, guys, we are now we are just about at the end of the road here. I do want to say something, because I should have said probably earlier. But if you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. Even if it means finding the people you don't like and sending them my way. It's like I've told people. I will make every single person I meet happy. Some people by showing up, most of them by leaving. But I've got a lot. I'm hoping tomorrow night. Sorry, not tomorrow night. Well, technically. if everything goes well tomorrow, I'm supposed to get the new computer system installed tomorrow at about noon. Okay. And then all of this, like what you're seeing behind me, will still be there. But the reality of making your life better is pick what you are not content with. That's the thing you start changing the energy around on. Okay. And we'll see what we can do about making things happen in a much more positive fashion. The one thing I will tell you, every single one of you has the capacity to be, even no matter what your age, you've got the capacity to be, if you so desire, a very wealthy individual, an incredible boon to society. You've got the ability to do whatever it is you set your heart to. Okay, but it's one step at a time. And even when you're looking at turning your life around, understand you didn't get into the situation you're in. Okay, overnight, in all likelihood. Some of you did. Okay, but where it comes to what every change you're making, if you've got a concern, absolutely let me know, and we will do what we can to give you direction as far as how to get it turned around. I've literally worked on everything from relationships through business, all the way up to helping get a Triple Crown bloodline horse running. Even without a legal background, even helped successfully close a $16 million lawsuit. Too bad I didn't get anything out of that. But that being said, I'm going to call it a night, guys. I'm going to say thank you so very much and for sharing your time with me. And I will be back tomorrow, Saturday. So I will be back tomorrow. Don't know what we're talking about yet because I haven't gotten that far. But until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.